It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. Ha! It's Feedback Friday. Wow, it was slow on the uptake there. So this Feedback Friday, first of all, two guests on the channel this week. Bobby Calloway and then Bianca. Yay, Bianca of Myself in Comics. And I just want to thank everybody for being so supportive of Bianca and Bobby. They were both pretty nervous, but they were brave. And I really do think that voices like that add a lot to not just my channel, but the general conversation. I mean, people especially being super supportive of Bobby was awesome. Again, I legitimately think The Shallow Ocean is a great book, and it is short. And so the people who are like, I'm not big readers, but it's okay. It's real short. It's like this thin. It's a novella. So it's one of those things that you can definitely read in a weekend if you sit and want to plow through it. I think I did it in like a night and a half, but it's a lovely story. And it's just so I'm very fortunate to know a lot of guys, that I call friends who are well, atypical to say the least. They're not hung up in machismo. And their perspectives on things are things I value. And it's sort of, maybe because I'm not typical girl, I, have not typical guys as friends. And, it's good. It's perspectives are important. And the other thing that was cool was Wednesday's video. I had a couple people who actually the conversations with them did inspire that video. Among other people, actually say I felt seen by that, and that's nice. I think that we spend too much time, and this is something I want to get away from. And it's hard when you're gaming adjacent. Part of the reason I stopped doing as much gaming content is you always get the shit heels who just want to go right answer, wrong answer. And it's so stupid that in a type of entertainment defined by player choice, that there has to be a right or a wrong answer on things. That just makes no sense to me, but it is everywhere. And I can't change the greater system, which is why I stopped doing games journalism, because you can't do the type of games journalism I like to do. I like to actually do analysis and investigations and actually talk to the devs, and really, like, there was a time I wanted to do like an inside the actor's studio of game development. It's just impossible to do. It's impossible to do. And it's so labor intensive that you can't make any money at it because no one will pay for it. And that's really unfortunate, because in order to have high quality journalism, somebody has to pay for it. People will pay for low quality journalism that has a partisan bent because they can use dark money. But high quality journalism that's actually like legitimately likes the medium and wants to enhance people's experiences with it, no, not so much. I forgot to do the help support this channel. I got way into the video. We'll do this. Okay, here we go. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. On Wednesday, a couple of poor clients of mine were getting, like, I went for my annual eye exam. I'm on a medication that has a risk of macular degeneration as a side effect. And so every year I have to have my eyes tested to see if I'm going blind. Not going blind, but do need a new prescription. So between that and I'm so light sensitive. They're putting me in transition contact lenses and I need eye drops. So it's $865 for the glasses and then $160 for the contacts and drops. So yeah, I'm expensive to keep going. So yay, Patreon, and yay, coffee. I also picked up a lovely new client who is one of those people who is getting subsidized services. I work with a lot of people with disabilities who are highly educated and utterly brilliant, and I don't believe that supports like this should only be for the wealthy. That's why I didn't go into executive coaching. Like the thing I do, the stuff I do, other people pay like they pay $5,000 for 3 months for the services. I could not live with myself charging that because I know like when I was completely PTSD around 2013, I didn't have the money to pay for that. And I don't want to be part of the problem. So, you know, your Patreon, your coffee support, it really does help people when they need the help, which is super important. And I've got so many Manly Monday topics now. I'm going to be burning through them for a while. Like, oh my God, they're just coming. But one of the things we talked about is doing some sort of, like, now that we're doing interviews on Manly Monday, some sort of Manly Monday, Two Women Talking, like, roundtable. Everybody's really stoked about that because I do think one of the things that we are missing is a holistic picture. And there's this thing of, oh, women have it so hard. Oh, men have it so hard. And one does not negate the other, right? The thing is, if you're only looking at one half of that equation, it's really easy to blame the other half when it's not whole cloth the other half's fault. And we know that a lot of the issues facing men are perpetuated by other men. The sentencing disparity in the legal system is a shining example of that. In the exception of when it's a sexual assault case, male judges tend to give male defendants harsher sentences than women. Not because they're harder on men, but because they're paternalistic towards women. And that is not a healthy protective instincts. Like, I feel protective of my friends, both male and female. That is you're not a fully functional person. Therefore, you're not really responsible for what you do. There, dear. That's not good. And that hurts both men and women in different ways. And as long as we keep pitting the fight against each other, I don't believe we're really going to make progress. And so this is one of the things that we had a really funny conversation on the Discord about things that are treated as gay. What are you gay if you won't do something on the server? And it was very confusing to me, and I just kind of sat back and listened and wait, this sounds like complete opposites day. And the guys were like, yeah, it really is. It started off talking about the Powerpuff Girls and how, like, a lot of boys watch that show because it was basically a superhero show. They beat the crap out of people on that show. It apparently started life being called the Whoop-Ass Girls. And it kind of went from there. But yeah, it was enlightening, and I didn't have much to add. There was another interesting conversation about like boys' modesty compared to girls' modesty. And that one really seemed to be different depending on what decade you grew up in and then what part of the world you grew up in. And that's when you start realizing that too many people get shot down too fast. And it devolved into, well, men have all these problems. It's like, yeah, okay, but there's another side of the coin. Yes, but men have all these problems. And like, yes, okay, but it's not that society cares completely about men and doesn't care about women. It's not that society cares completely about protecting and coddling women and doesn't care about men. It's that based on the economic bracket you are in, if you have less money, it's shit. It's shit for women. It's shit for men. It's shit for boys. It's shit for girls. If you have more money, then different problems arise. And money doesn't solve everything, right? There's still, look at Elon Musk. Clearly has issues with, his self-image. Narcissists do not have good self-image. They have a very fragile sense of self, which is why they can't take any criticism. And this brings me to something I want to talk about regarding that productive conversations and the idea of intents. Because I see this all the time. People want maximum benefit of the doubt for themselves while giving minimum benefit of the doubt to other people. They won't budge, but they want complete acceptance. And that doesn't work, right? If you want your subjectivity is part of being human. Denial of subjectivity is a marker of objectification. And there's too many people, especially when the conversations are going on the internet, they want people to care about what they're saying. Well, they act like they just don't give a shit about anybody else. And again, it doesn't work that way, right? If you want your intents to matter, you have to show that other people's intents matter. I am a big believer in going first because it cost me nothing to be decent, right? It cost me nothing to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Benefit of the doubt doesn't mean people can just run away with all of it. We set boundaries. It only goes so far. But I will give someone the benefit of the doubt until, like, for instance, I'm like, no, that's not okay. And they respond, for example, with, oh, I never intended to do that. But they go on at length about how they never intended to do that. But there's no time or attention given to the fact that, yeah, but you did. And if you do too much, I didn't intend that. I absolutely did not intend that. Didn't intend it at all. Believe it or not, you're sending the message that you're going to do it again. Because if you didn't intend to do it this time, but you did it, well, you're not going to intend it the next time you do it too. And, certain things when someone is saying, like, this is a problem for me, can you please stop? I didn't mean to. If that's all you're giving the person, it's not enough. And this is a whole continuum of mindset. And I know this because I used to be a lot more guarded. I don't want to be taken advantage of, so I'm going to give nothing until somebody's nice to me first. And I was one of those toxic, obnoxious people that constantly tested people because part of me was absolutely certain that people would eventually get sick of me and kick me to the curb. It happens all the time, but that doesn't mean it's my fault. And that's the thing. Being terrified of that doesn't stop it. And the problem I had was that because I was so afraid of being kicked to the curb, I wasn't protecting my space. I had too many people around me who are not good people. And now I am open with compliments. And that's something I'll talk about another time, because Dragon Age Veilguard has made me very self-conscious about that. I talked about that in another video. But it's taken me on this whole deep dive down into, are these video game romances really any good? But that'll be something I'll tackle next week. But now it's like, I pay honest compliments. I tell people when they're good at something, you know, I give people benefit of the doubt. And part of the reason I say, you know, can you not do that, please? Here's why. That is me giving someone the benefit of the doubt that they don't intend to. But the best way to show you don't intend to do something is acknowledge that the person has said it's bothering them, and you know, asking, you know, they're asking you to stop, please. And it's funny because I work with so many autistic people that autistic people are usually great at taking those sorts of corrections. They appreciate when someone is saying, can you please not do that? Can you do this instead? And so you hit a neurotypical person who gets all offended when you do that and gets all passive aggressive. And it's just, you start wondering who really has the disorder, right? Is autism really such a disorder? Because the people who can take the correction, to me, are doing better in that regard than the people whose ego gets all caught up in it. And it's a real challenge when someone is having an attack of ego because they're not aware of it, right? They're behaving irrationally. And I can't take it. But I can't, meaning if I let one person do it to me, I have to let everybody do it to me. And I deal with so many people that that's just not workable. But at the same time, there's a low expectation that somebody who's caught up in ego is really going to meaningfully change, because, you know, kicking your ego addiction is hard. And the problem is that you need a certain base level of self-concept and self-esteem to be able to handle correction, you know? I know this because I had to develop it. I was terrified of being wrong about things, and now it's like, oh, is that wrong? Pfft, you know? Okay. But I know what I'm good at. I have a certain amount of, yeah, I'm okay, you know? I'm not a paragon of any sort, though I know that I do my best to make the world less shitty than I found it. And I know that I care about people, and I do my best to be fair. Now, being fair doesn't always mean nice, and I have to choose. And it's been a real challenge lately because, you know, post-US election, there's been a lot of people spiraling, and we've had to correct a lot of behavior, not because we love power, which is what we get accused of, but it's more, okay, this isn't helping anything. It isn't helping anybody, and it's not kind to the person to just let them spiral, right? It's not, they're making themselves more miserable. We're watching them do it. They're driving people away. And so we have to, we take the risk of having the difficult, caring conversation. And some people take it really well, and some people don't. And I hear a lot from people, see, that's why I don't bother. And I think, well, to me, and this is this intense thing again, right? If I intend to treat people fairly, then I have to take some risks, right? I got to tell them when there's a problem, because nobody likes being ghosted. So I have to take the risk that they're not going to handle it well. And I mean, every once in a while, I get one of those people who take it really not well, and then it becomes a vendetta. I have one person who's currently on a vendetta because I use the word vendetta. Because that's a regulated and adult response. Sarcasm. But can I do anything about that? No, because the alternative is to just let them get away with it. And that's not fair to the people who behave well. And that's the really hard thing, is that showing up with good intents means that you do have to eat a fair bit of humble pie a lot. It gets exhausting sometimes. You have to get, there are times I say something and it's like guaranteed that person muttered bitch under their breath. Even though, the bitchy thing is not saying it to someone's face. It's doing the, I felt harassed behind their back, right? I don't do that. I'll say to them, that what you did there, not cool. Because then they know, right? Then they have the opportunity to correct it. If they don't, fuck them. But they were given a chance. And this is where we get into this thing about masculinity is a box. And femininity is a box. And what's the difference between the box and a cage? An open side, right? A box with only 3 sides, that's what cats sit in, right? That's awesome. That just defines your space. If it fits, I sits. But we know that a lot of cats take, if it fits, I sits. The small cat will sit in the big thing, and the big cat will sit in the small thing with over. If it fits-ish, right? But that's what gender should be like, right? It sort of fits. It doesn't totally fit completely. The minute there isn't that open top or open side, well, then it's not a comfy box where if it fits, I sits. Then it's a trap. Then it's a cage. It's a trap, right? Then it's a cage. And that's the difference. If people are caged by gendered expectations, then that sucks. If people are allowed to sort of ish the expectation, get it 75% right, or be able to go, this part doesn't work for me. The one I hear from a lot of guys that really doesn't work for them, that's ironic, is the whole locker room thing. The smacking each other's ass and the locker room talk and all this. They can't stand it. They cannot stand it. That I hear a lot of complaints about that from guys. And these are the sorts of things that don't change unless someone says, hey, I don't really like this. Another thing that was talked about, it was interesting, is, letting your kids run around naked or half naked and taking pictures of your kids in the tub naked and then showing them to people. We had a whole conversation about, hey, maybe we really shouldn't be doing that because a lot of kids feel kind of like their privacy is invaded. What? Because I realized, I didn't realize until, the guys were talking about it, that, yeah, my parents did that to me and I didn't like it, but I felt like I had to put up with it. And what does that teach a child about boundaries? Nothing good, right? If a kid doesn't want you showing your picture, it's not funny to humiliate them to their relatives. This is something we've learned going forward, right? But that's like anything. If you're challenging status quo, even if it's with the best of intents, people are going to push back. And I mean, I push back on the pushback. But if somebody isn't in a stable place, right? If they're still not healed enough, it's not fair to expect them to advocate in an environment where the first thing people are going to do is shit all over something, right? Because it's easy to go, oh, men have it so bad and women get all the protection. Or it's so easy to go, women have it so bad because patriarchy, men get all the opportunities. Truth is, those are both exaggerations. Because, we talked on the Discord about Angela Merkel, the former chancellor of Germany. And she experienced a lot of sexism coming up. She was still possibly the most powerful person in Europe for a really long time. Part of the reason things are kind of messed up right now is there was no one to really replace her. But does that mean she had it fair? Well, no, she managed to overcome. But the truth is, if she didn't have people backing her, she was very much as likely to fail as succeed, right? We can't all follow in the footsteps of Angela Merkel. A big part of that was just luck. And that's the thing. We can't look at a person who's been very, very successful and figure out what's going on with men, what's going on with women. We have to look like at the mid-tier, and then we have to look at the bottom. And the spread, men are overrepresented at the very top socioeconomically. They're also represented at the very bottom socioeconomically. Women are sort of spread more evenly in between. And what does that mean? Well, it means that women, there is a glass ceiling and then there's a glass floor. And again, is that box comfortable? If it fits, I sits. Or is that box a trap? Well, it really depends, right? I know for me, the fact that every time I go, hey, cut it out, I have to worry about somebody going, bitch, and deciding that that's okay to get in my face. It's a lot more work for me to assert myself than somebody who the assumption is, well, if he gave you shit, you'd probably deserved it. And it's a lot better than it used to be. Trust me. I say this so that other people recognize, no, it is, watch that. The same way, watch the man up to men. Give that woman a little less of the what a bitch treatment, and give men a little less of the what a bitch treatment. So when a woman's in your face, maybe she's not a bitch, maybe she's got a point. And if a man is being vulnerable, maybe he's not a little bitch. Maybe things are just hard. And maybe you're being a raging asshole by judging those people instead of taking the opportunity to be there for them. Because we're all going to need somebody sometime. And you have to answer the question. If you were at your weakest moment, would you want yourself for company there? Are you the type of person who would be, come on, let's talk about it. You seem to be having a hard time. Or are you going to be that person who goes, stop being such a little bitch? Only you can answer that question. help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Cares session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, ko-fi.com/Leanna K. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.